Red mic. Thank you. There we go. Red mic. Okay, we now have sound in the sanctuary. Blue mic. Blue mic on. Blue mic, we hear pretty good. Great. Thank you. All right, so we got two mics. Pulpit mic. Pulpit mic. Pulpit mic is on.
Preacher's mic. The preacher's mic is on. I feel a sermon coming on. Okay.
Blue mic. Blue mic. So sound check. What do you want done first? Okay, hang on. Okay, we're adjusting the curtains. Yeah. Curtains are all the way down, and they're too far, I think.
Hey. Okay, we're ready for a sound check.
Ready for sound check. Okay.
First,
Reverend,
this morning, we are particularly excited about officially welcoming our newest members to First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. How does that sound? Is it okay up there?
yeah, I believe
Okay.
so. How does it sound down there?
Sounds fine here.
Okay.
Okay.
Jan, go ahead.
Since we are guided not by a creed, but by our common aims, let's begin with our unison affirmation. And now I invite all First U members, including our newest ones, to join me in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
The teleprompter is not on?
No. We can
okay.
man it. Do you have all?
Hang on, we're checking.
I have notes if they're needed.
It's on.
So I have to enlist some people to carry the flowers up during the
Okay.
first hymn.
Cinda, what is it showing now? Cinda, call John again. The content is not coming through to the switcher, to anything. Richard, what's on the teleprompter? No, it's all right.
Oh, Lord.
Sound. Thank you. All right, we need to do a quick check of the 2 mics for the soloists. Can we do that right now? Okay. All right. Both on then, or when? Duet. Okay, we'll go. Duet.
I'll count it off. I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers. Day is fast a-going. Life in all her growing colors. For the light is striving. On the iron touch of cold. Winter time and frost time. Sleep is working through the hole. Loving love for all time. Turban clad that winter long, slumbered at their leisure, now bestirring green and strong, finding growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, all the green advancing, flowers make me among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
That's lovely, thank you.
Okay, let's try the meditation one time.
We're doing the meditation in the depths of my soul. In the depths of my soul, there where lies the source of strength, where divine and human meet. There quiet your mind, quiet, quiet. Sorry, I can't see my music. Outside let lightning rain, horrible darkness frighten the world, but from the depths of your own soul, from that silence will rise again. Yeah, I had a vision issue here.
joining, whether you're joining us virtually, thank you, Larry, whether you're joining us virtually or here in the congregation. I'd like to extend a special welcome today to the children and youth who have joined us this morning. This month's Soul Matters theme is delight, and I am delighted to be serving as your worship associate today, and to be taking part in our annual flower communion in all its splendor. If you are new to First Unitarian, I invite you to check out our website, firstuuwilm.org, to learn more about us and to sign up for our email newsletter. First Unitarian Church is a welcoming congregation. We affirm the worth and dignity of all, no matter your racial or ethnic identity, pronouns or gender expression, sexual orientation, family structure, income, immigration status, size, or abilities, and you are welcome here. We hope you'll join us in Fellowship Hall after the service for coffee and conversation. And now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Thank breaking through the wall, now make up for lost time. Herb and plants that winter long slumbered at their leisure, now give stirring green and strong, finding growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, golden green enhancing, ours may bleed among the hills, set the meadows dancing.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. And we've got so much packed into this one service that you're going to feel like you went to 3 services today. Now, one thing that I know we're out of practice around, and that is the order of service. Go ahead. You can come on in now. We were going to do this during the first hymn, but they are so ambitious. So let them do it now. So there is an order of service. It probably didn't catch your eye if it was just on the table. So it will be important to have this because it gives you some information about our new members. So hopefully someone can help distribute those for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the opening words are from Leonard Mason. We affirm the unfailing renewal of life. Rising from the earth and reaching for the sun, all living creatures shall fulfill themselves. We affirm the steady growth of human companionship, rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars. People the world over shall seek the ways of understanding. We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirits of individuals shall rise to build a better world.
If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to join me in lighting it now. As Reverend Larry lights our chalice, I give you these words from Reverend Scott Taylor. This light, it dances, barely able to contain its delight, and it seems to want us to do the same. So this morning, may we let it lure us into letting go of the worries, of the stiffness that sets in after all the striving, of the myth that productivity alone gives us purpose. The garden of life we've been given is a playground. The weeding can wait, so says this delightful flame.
So please stand as you are willing or able to sing our opening hymn, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. You may find the words on the screen or in the order of service.
One, two, three, four.
So the hymn that we just heard was written by Norbert Čapek, who was a Unitarian minister in Czechoslovakia. Let's say that word, Czechoslovakia. Fortunately, today it's known as the Czech Republic. Can you make a check mark in the air? Let's try it. Czech, we got that, Czech Republic. So over 100 years ago, he started this ritual, which we call the flower ceremony, in which people come to church, each bringing a flower and putting it in a common vase. Notice that we have brought flowers today. If you did not bring a flower, no worries, because in community, we oftentimes have more abundance than we could ever imagine. And we cover for each other as well. So we are going to, as part of this ceremony, take a different flower than the one that we brought to symbolize how in the presence of community there is this possibility of transformation. Now, I want to say that now more than ever, we need to be more than just individual flowers. We need to stretch ourselves to continually create community together. There is a beauty in the community that we create together. Rather than merely succumb to the pressures and the patterns of resting in our own individual worlds, our own opinions, and our own personal comforts, we need to come together to create community. As we were reminded in The Little Prince, it is the time that we have taken for our rose that makes it so important. And I would say it is the time that we have taken for our community that makes our church community important. Just as this random collection of individual flowers represents how our individual contributions can create a unique community. Indeed, when as this ritual concludes, each of you will come forward and take a different flower than the one you brought, we are affirming that it is, when we come together, there is this possibility of change and transformation that we cannot do just on our own. And so I'm going to invite you, first the children, to come forward and take a flower from the vase. Just one flower, not the whole vase. Which one would you like? This one? Okay. You like it? What do you like about this one? Purple's your color. Okay. Did you find one you like? I can help you if you'd like. This one? Okay. Great. And now we would like to invite each of you to come forward in a somewhat orderly way and come and forward and take a different flower than the one that you might have brought as we also hear the choir singing. So these words are by Norbert Čapek, words that he used as a blessing on the flowers during the flower ceremony. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. So the Czech Unitarian minister Norbert Čapek, whose story I will tell today during the sermon, was arrested by the Nazi Gestapo in 1941. He spent a year in Dresden prison before being sent to Dachau. He wrote this meditation in Dresden in 1942. So let's join together now in a time of prayerful meditation with these words by Norbert Čapek. In the depths of my soul, there where lies the source of strength, where the divine and the human meet, there quiet your mind. Quiet. Quiet. Outside, let lightning rain. Horrible darkness frighten the world. But from the depths of your own soul, from that silence will rise again God's flower. Return to yourself. Rest in yourself. Live in the depths of your soul where the divine and the human meet. Tune your heart to the eternal, and in the depths of your own soul, your panting quiets down, where the divine and the human meet. There is your refuge. So continue this time of meditation as we now hear the musical meditation this morning.
In the depths of my soul, there where lies the source of strength, where divine and human meet, there quiet your mind. Quiet, quiet. Outside let lightning rain. Horrible darkness frighten the world. But from the depths of your own soul, from that silence will rise again the flower of God. Return to yourself, rest in yourself, live in the depths of your soul.
Thank you, Kathy and Rebecca, for that meditation. One day in the 1920s, on a walk through a field of flowers, Norbert Čapek, this young Unitarian minister in Prague, was filled with an experience of awe and wonder as he was surrounded by this field of beauty. He was stopped in his tracks as he let the beauty of these flowers and all of their varieties surround him, fill him, and inspire him. Now, whether our sentiments are scientific or spiritual or some combination of the both, whether we tend towards the ordinary or the extraordinary or some combination of the both, we know this common human experience of a sense of wonder and beauty. It is a fleeting yet lingering experience. It is hard to express in words, yet the sense of wonder is the source of so much poetry and art and song and prose. It is the source of so much spiritual sentiment that we cannot explain it away too quickly, only appreciate it. Beauty and wonder are inadequately expressed in words, so we may even find rituals now and then that can capture what words alone cannot do. In a wonderful book, so to speak, that I've been reading recently entitled Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us, the authors explore the present and captivating breakthrough research on how beauty and art can enhance our lives, transform our minds and bodies. But we know this already. Our service celebrating the creativity of our members last Sunday conveyed this so clearly. To have the lived experience of the subtle yet powerful act of creating beauty through art or experiencing beauty around us is essential to our human becoming. One of the scientists referred to in the book sought to discover a brain basis for what we find beautiful. He concluded that while there are some universal phenomenon that we all consider and find beautiful, a sunset, for instance, what we actually register as beautiful is a very highly personal matter. Indeed, scientists debate whether there is a central location for beauty in the brain. Yet we know the experience of beauty when we are in its presence. Often it is triggered by wonder and awe in nature, as it was for Norbert Čapek that day he walked through that field of flowers. You may resonate with the authors of Your Brain on Art as they state the impact of beauty and awe on us. They write, and I'll quote from them, "Awe can literally stop you in your tracks, and it induces significant physical effects. You might shiver, your pulse quickens, you might feel a warmth in the chest and tears in your eyes brought on by awe's influence. When you are in these heightened states, default mode network regions of the cortex of your brain downregulate." That's how scientists talk. You stop analyzing, you let go, and then in the stillness of your mind, something extraordinary happens. Neurotransmitter floodgates open and your synapses are bathed in a state of, they write, sanctity. Elation and euphoria crescendo into what is described as a peak experience or transcendence. And they continue. Awe alters your mind from self-centeredness to community-centric. Čapek knew that somehow that this experience of beauty, of awe, of wonder was also something fundamental to what it means to be human. He wanted to somehow incorporate that pause in the experience of beauty into his ministry. Consequently, he developed a ritual that could speak to his Unitarian congregation in Prague. Many who, like himself, had left, quote, traditional religions, as he had left his Baptist upbringing, his Roman Catholicism, then became a Baptist before gravitating towards Unitarians in his ministry career. He realized that as much as we need music and poetry and meditation and sermons to speak to us, he also knew that ritual could remind us of the ineffable and also needed a place in our worship experiences. What I'm coming to appreciate through this study of your brain on art is that beauty is essential to our quest for wholeness. Čapek probably felt the inadequacy of the reactive formation against ritual in his overly intellectual Unitarian services. He recognized how this simple ritual could bring this direct experience of beauty into the worship service. He began the Flower Festival, which today is being celebrated throughout the world by Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists, and is often referred to as the Flower Communion or the Flower Ceremony. I never like using the phrase flower communion, particularly to those who may not know what it's all about, because they might think we're going to be eating the flowers. So I prefer flower ceremony, even though flower communion is a common phrase used. This simple ritual of each bringing our own individual flower and placing it in the vase and leaving with a different flower honors both the importance of our individual unique gifts to this congregation and also how in our experiences together in community we have the possibility of experiencing a transformation. I say the possibility of transformation, since transformation is not a given just by coming together. Likewise, beauty is not a given. We may be surrounded by beauty every day and not recognize or appreciate it. Let's face it, transformation that is possible in community takes energy and intention. It takes commitment, like the commitment demonstrated today by those who are freely joining our congregation as new members. Sometimes we'd rather retreat than engage. Sometimes we'd rather stay on the surface rather than go deeper. Sometimes we'd rather hold on to our own individual particular flower than risk being in the mix of the interaction with any random bouquet of flowers that we might call a faith community. My friend Parker Palmer writes that community is a place where the connections felt in your hearts make themselves known in the bonds between people, and where the tugging and pulling of those bonds keep opening our hearts. This implies for me that we need to be open to that tugging and pulling of community on our hearts, no matter how obvious, but most often, no matter how subtle that tugging and pulling might be. Cultivating that openness reminds me of the Buddhist practice of soft eyes. Some of you know this. Soft eyes means at least three things: letting the muscles around the eyes be relaxed, letting the focus within the eyes be soft, and being effortlessly receptive to whatever is arising in the entire visual field. Let's try that practice now for just a moment. So let the muscles around your eyes be relaxed, which sometimes makes us aware of how much tension we might be holding there. But let it relax. Let the focus within the eyes be soft, not narrow-focused, not determinative, but just soft. Let your focus be effortlessly receptive to whatever is arising in the entire visual field. And let's take a moment to practice soft eyes together. So often, our attention is so narrowly focused, so determined, that we might miss what happens when we soften our gaze. In such a simple practice, such as soft eyes, our mind tends to become quieter than usual. Our body can even begin to relax, and our breathing slower and deeper as we begin to develop a receptivity to what is happening within us and around us. This receptivity allows us to be open to even the subtlest tugging and pulling of those bonds that keep opening our heart, that can happen in community. I like to imagine the flowers in the hastily arranged vase that represent community in our flower ceremony require us to savor the diversity of each other's presence in order for transformation to actually occur. In true community, we just don't bail out. We stay in there. When we disagree, we stay engaged. We listen deeply. We seek to understand and to not just take a stand. Those practices allow us to be open to the tugging and pulling of the heart that can happen in community. Sometimes we realize that in authentic community and relationships, we have actually been extended so much grace. And that's a nice way to say people have put up with us. Indeed, we have been extended so much grace, even when that grace may not seem to have been deserved. That happens in community. With gratitude, may we appreciate the beauty of that simple grace that we have received from others. Let's not rush through this. Let's take a moment to really appreciate with gratitude the grace that we have received from others in any of our relationships. Čapek gathered a Unitarian community in Prague that grew into the largest Unitarian congregation in the world, which once numbered over 3,000 people. I had the opportunity to visit the location of that congregation and to spend time with contemporary Unitarians in the Czech Republic while teaching there about 6 years ago. These congregations, with Čapek planted, experienced much turmoil and uncertainty during the communist era, but they are now being revived and are blossoming. I like to remind people that Norbert Čapek was more than a flower child, so to speak. Čapek cared as much for the social and the political environment as he did for the spiritual atmosphere. And for him, they were connected. He fought against the forces that restricted and harmed human potential and human freedom and free expression in community and society from actually blossoming. You see, while Čapek's church grew, so did the influences of Adolf Hitler's authoritarian regime. While the Nazis approached the Czech Republic, Čapek daringly preached resistance to the coming occupation from his pulpit. He stated in 1938 from that pulpit, "We are today the only nation in the whole of Europe that is ready to resist oppression. Confronting our descendants, we will never have to feel ashamed of the fact that as a small nation in the middle of Europe, we were ready to defend human dignity, freedom, and justice from violence, lies, and lawlessness." Within 6 months, however, the German army occupied Prague, slowly crushing the resistance with brutal attacks on the people. Most democratic institutions and universities were shut down. State-recognized churches, however, were allowed to remain open, and so the Unitarian community remained strong. When Čapek turned 70, the church held a celebration for him. Their birthday gift to him was a shortwave radio. Even during the Nazi occupation, Čapek's sermons continued to address the political climate, since he did not perceive a separation again from the spiritual, the political, and the social realms of life. The Gestapo placed him under surveillance. Čapek and his staff prepared for the time when the Nazis would shut them down. His wife left for the United States to raise funds for the refugees, and Čapek never saw his wife again. One day, a gang of secret police broke into his home, found him in his study, listening to war news from Britain on that shortwave radio, listening to the BBC. Listening to a foreign broadcast was a crime under the Nazi occupation, and they arrested him and his daughter Zora. They confiscated his radio and his writings as an evidence of, quote, high treason. Documents found later showed that Nazis considered his upholding the inherent worth and dignity of each human individual as treason in their growing and expanding authoritarian regime. Čapek spent a year awaiting trial in Dresden prison, where he wrote the meditation that I shared earlier in the service. And in the end, he was convicted for listening to the radio. His daughter Zora was sent to Germany for forced labor, and Čapek went to Dachau. He spent the last 14 months of his life there and died of poison gas. To seek beauty, to uphold beauty, can be seen as an act of resistance. Prisoners told of how Čapek took his flower ceremony into the prison as well. On this 100th anniversary of the institution of the flower ceremony, given all that's happening in our world in 2023, I want to especially highlight this prophetic voice of resistance of Čapek. Čapek sought to unroot the ways of thinking and being in the world that diminish the seeds of possibility in all of us. When we proclaim the inherent worth and dignity of each of us in our cherished Unitarian Universalist principles, we are declaring in 2023 that no matter our race, our zip code, our gender, identity, and expression, our sexual orientation, that we are each of inherent worth. Whether we live in Hungary or the United States, in Delaware or Florida, we have inherent worth. And no one can legislate someone else out of existence with the stroke of a pen. Can I get an amen? Amen. We are in a time now, 100 years after the first flower ceremony, my friends, when we need more people like Čapek who believed so strongly in the beauty and dignity of each life, as in the beauty of each individual flower, that we are willing to say enough to this attempted obliteration of identity, enough to this injustice. Can you say that word after me? Enough? We are in a time 100 years after the first flower communion when we need more people like Čapek who can say with words and with action that we will not participate in the systems of cruelty that have been physically and spiritually violent to black lives for generations. Can you say this word after me? Enough. We are in a moment 100 years after the flower ceremony when women's dignity and autonomy, their right to their own reproductive health and choices should not be taken away from them. We have to say enough. We have long been in times when the poor have been forgotten, been marginalized from our common care, and kept trapped in systems that hinder rather than uphold their dignity and free their bodies and souls. We throw the poor scraps and strive to increase the requirements for them to receive basic needs, while some of the wealthy have been propped up with subsidies and tax breaks many know they do not need. Someone needs to rise up and say enough. We live in a time 100 years after the first flower ceremony when some assume that they have more worth than others and are above having the law apply to them. Maybe some of us want to say it. Enough. Norbert Čapek had a grounded and a deep-rooted understanding of what our Unitarian forebears believed was the divine seed of possibility in each of us that needed to be diligently and deliberately tended. Yes, Čapek was a universalist who believed the social and political garden we tend is as important as the individual flowers that each of us are. He embodied that universalist ideal that all are deserving of restoration, eternal divine love in this life. He died believing that whatever systems of thought that impede or oppress the soul of anyone in this life must be uprooted. Norbert Čapek, in word and ritual, believed in an ever-emergent beauty in the world and in the human soul that requires our coming together in community to bring it about. He believed and died believing that beauty calls us together. And so he composed these words which we sang this morning, and may they be our prayer. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts, take our breath, and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art. So may it be. Amen. And so this morning, we're particularly excited about officially welcoming the newest members of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. Jan Shea will begin our new member welcoming ceremony, and Jan's mic needs to be on for just a moment. Jan.
Since we're guided not by a creed, but by our common aims, let's begin with our unison affirmation. And now I invite all First U members, including our newest ones, to join me in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community
that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action. Marilyn will come up, and as your name is called, please come forward. Those of you who are in the sanctuary. What? Oh, okay, right. Those of you who are in the sanctuary may have received an order of service that tells you briefly about each of our new members. Those of you who are watching from home will see a slide of each member projected on the screen as their name is called. Please take the time to connect with our new members in the reception that follows in the parish hall following this service or anytime soon. Connect them to the life and to the community and to the work of this congregation. Marilyn.
It's my honor on behalf of the membership team to welcome the following individuals into membership: Kevin Stone and Susan Boyce.
So you could stand here and look out.
Steve Darling and Lizzie Darling. Sarah Collins and Rob Collins. Dawn Rambo and Rick Rambo. Mike Morden Widener. Carrie joined us a couple of months ago, but you're welcome to come up as well. Carrie Morton Widener as well. And we have a very special guest who can't join us today, but she's watching us on Zoom, and that's Dale Danoon, who lives in Dover.
So Marilyn has provided a gift here of a flaming chalice, and we'll get that to you in a moment. And I'm going to ask our co-presidents to help welcome you as well. So after we do our congregational response, okay. So we want to honor the roots of this congregation, founded in 1866 by an intrepid group of people who wanted to bring the message of a liberal approach to Christianity and a Unitarian congregation to this area. Over the years, the perspective of this congregation, of course, have broadened into a congregation that draws from many sources of many religious, literary, artistic, and scientific perspectives as we endeavor to embody our guiding principles into practices that transform lives and our society. We've been served by clergy and lay leaders over the years that enriched, challenged, and deepened this congregation, and together they have cultivated this congregation. And now, today, we invite each of you into this beloved community to enrich us with your experiences, your perspectives, and your gifts. You enrich us, you add beauty to what we already are and what we will become. So I welcome you. And may the members of First Unitarian now stand as you are willing or able and join offering the welcoming words that you will find in your order of service or on the screen. Great. We welcome you
as once we were welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive, respecting your inherent dignity, your ideas, and your vision, in times when it is easy and in times when it is difficult. We seek to be supportive, not only when you reach out in courage to us, but also when you need us to reach out to you. We welcome you as an equal member of this congregation, of this faith, and of our shared spiritual journey.
So Ed Scott and Cinda Cream will now welcome you as part of our congregation. Great, thank you.
Today's special offering is for Peace Week Delaware. Steering committee members Darlene Scott and Pat Bartoszewski are here to tell us about one of their special projects.
Good morning. Is that on? Good morning. I am Darlene Scott, Chair of the Peace Week Delaware Steering Committee. And with me is Pat Bartoszewski, who's President of our Board of Directors. This past week, I wrote to you in the e-news about the relationship between Peace Week Delaware and Pacem Terrace. Pacem Terrace received the special offering in September. You may have missed that e-news, and so I'm going to briefly describe that to you. Peace Week Delaware and Pacem Terrace have always been separate organizations. In 2016, when Peace Week Delaware was founded, Pacem Terrace served to nurture us. They were much older organizations, founded in 1967. And with that nurturing, they shared their nonprofit status to allow Peace Week Delaware to receive tax-deductible donations. During those years, Peace Week Delaware was growing up, and in 2022, we became our own independent nonprofit. We continue to manage Peace Week Delaware with an all-volunteer steering committee, as well as hundreds of volunteers throughout the state who organize events. We remain committed to our week-long series of events that focusing on building community solidarity and promoting peace and justice. But in our coming of age, we've also expanded our vision. Not only are we just focusing on 1 week of the year, but also in supporting peace building throughout the year. Not only for youth and adults, but also increasingly for young children.
And that's why I'm here today, because we hope that you will consider yourself peacemakers in sharing the vision of peace through a picture book. The artist and author Todd Parr has written many beautiful books for children, but the one that's called The Peace Book gives meaning to peace in terms that the very youngest children can understand. And that's why we hope to put this book in the hands of as many young children as possible, remembering, of course, that because the book is read to them, we are also reaching parents, teachers, librarians, even older siblings, with how peace is in the everyday life of a child and his or her family. So we hope that you will be generous and be peacemakers in sharing this book.
Thank you.
I should mention that there are copies of the book in the social hall that you can look at, as well as a list of other peace books.
For those of you here with us today, baskets are available in the back of the sanctuary for donations. The numerous other ways to make a donation are displayed on the screen. Please join me now in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these, our offerings. If you have a chalice at home, please join me in extinguishing it now as I offer these words from Brian Doyle. We're only here for a minute, we're here for a little window, and to use that time to catch and share shards of light and laughter and grace seems to me the great story.
So a couple announcements first, and before the benediction and our closing hymn. We had a group of members of the congregation that went to the Delaware Pride with other Unitarian Universalists yesterday. If you were part of that group, if you'll just stand, if you happen to be here. So we thank you on behalf of the congregation for your presence there. This afternoon at 3 o'clock, there's a film that we are partnering with the ACLU of Delaware to have shown here in our sanctuary as part of Pride Month as well, from Selma to Stonewall. So please join us at 3 if you can for that. So this year, we welcomed 23 new members. And it is up to us, to each of us, to help them feel welcome and to connect with this congregation. Many of them already have. So we're going to have a reception after the service. Please welcome all of our new members, get acquainted, and help them find their path here as you have. Our benediction today is a video benediction from Reverend Peter Samansky, colleague and friend of mine from the Prague Unitarian congregation. And then we'll sing, after this, we'll sing our closing hymn, We Would Be One.
These are the words I offered as a meditation over the flowers before their distribution. Ve jménu toho, co je svaté, ve jménu toho, co je dobré, ve jménu toho, co dává život, sešli jsme se tady dnes, v tomto místě. Byl nám dán život, abychom žili v povědomí věčnosti. Neboť to je zdroj štěstí. Abychom pracovali na sobě a vnášeli do svého života štěstí. Abychom byli co platní druhým, se kterými jsme provázáni neviditelnými vztahy. Vy květiny, připomínáte nám tu úžasnou jednoduchost přírodního řádu a to, že i my jsme jeho součástí. Připomínáte nám krásu a harmonii rozmanitosti. Připomínáte nám, že lze cítit a vnímat a žít jednotu v různosti a různost v jednotě. Nechť jeden duch tvůrčího života nás spojí, tak, jako mezi námi vládne. In the name of what is holy, in the name of what is good, in the name of that which gives life, we have gathered here in this place today. We have been given life to live under the aspect of eternity, for that is the source of happiness. To work on ourselves and bring happiness into our lives, to be as valid as possible to others with whom we are connected by invisible relationships. You, the flowers, remind us of the wonderful simplicity of the natural order, and that we too are a part of it. You remind us of the beauty and harmony of diversity. You remind us that one can feel and perceive and live unity in diversity and diversity in unity. Let the spirit of creative life unite us as it reigns among us.
One, two, three, four.
Thank you.